today's video, I'm going to tell you guys a few tips on how to manage stress during your exams, and this is actually the follow-up video from my previous exam video because you guys had a lot of questions on exactly how to manage stress while giving an exam. Hi guys, my name is Marisha Agarwal and you're watching Hoi Nederland, the University Survival Guide of the Netherlands, from a university student to a university student. So today's video is basically a part 2, which is a follow-up from the previous exam related video, and that's because I got a lot of questions from you guys asking how to manage stress during the exam. I briefly covered it in the other video, but I thought, you know what, exams are right now, like you guys are in the middle of an exam season, and I thought let me help out and make a video about how to manage the stress during exam time. So exams can be really stressful, and I for one am someone who struggled with anxiety and stress all throughout my 4 years of university, so I think I have a few tips and tricks over the years that I've developed that help me in managing my stress during the exams actually taking place. On top of that, the giant exam halls and coronavirus does not really help with the stress. So here are 5 tips on how you guys can manage stress in the middle of an exam. So tip number 1, and the first thing that I actually do in the morning, is to make sure that I'm in a good mood before the exam. Now, I might have spent the whole night studying, or maybe even not. I might have slept in early just to get my good rest. But what I normally do is I will wake up earlier than I normally do. And that's only because I want to give myself the extra time to just relax before an exam, especially in the morning, because I really rush mornings. So what I normally do is I will have a hearty breakfast with all the food that I really like. So the day before I get groceries that makes me happy. So it would be maybe a croissant, or maybe some chocolate, or maybe granola, I don't know, whatever makes you happy for breakfast, have that. If it's like sausage and eggs, if it's like a really heavy breakfast, you do you. But yeah, I basically make sure that I have really good food in the morning that A, makes me feel super happy, and B, is very healthy. After that, I go in for a warm shower and I just detox myself by playing some nice calming music in the background. Just be aware of your roommates so you don't play the music too loud, because they might be sleeping because they're really early in the morning these days. So just keep careful of that. But once I'm done with my shower, I go to my room, I put on like a few candles or whatever, and I get ready. Now when I get ready, I don't mean running, trying to find clothes or whatever. No, I really plan my outfit and put it together, and whatever makes me happy in that morning is what I will do. So if it's planning out an outfit, or if it's like wearing makeup, or if it's putting jewelry on, or if it's even changing my bag from like a really grungy black backpack to a pink backpack. Whatever makes you happy in that morning, go for it. And that's what I normally do. Just get dressed up so that I'm in a good mood before the exam starts. So my tip number 2 is to basically bike or walk to the exam hall. Now in the morning, exam hall, especially on the bike, can be super rushed and extremely stressful. So what I normally do is I would either bike like half an hour earlier before everyone gets in, or I make sure to bike maybe like in the last 5 minutes before the doors actually open. So what walking and biking does is that basically it gives you a morning workout, so your happy hormones are up, and also you manage to get some half an hour of free time to just yourself and declutter your mind, which is crucial before an exam. Now, some people would prefer to take the public transport like the bus, or maybe even call a cab, just because you can have some extra time to revise. I personally am not someone who likes to revise last minute before an exam, but that's another point for later. But yeah, I normally just get that biking in and I put on like really nice music, as I mentioned in my previous video. So if you guys want to listen to what I listen to, be it on the bike or while walking or even while studying, I've made a study music playlist using songs off of YouTube, so check it down in the link below. I think you guys will enjoy that playlist. Speaking of, tip number 3. So speaking of music, this is my tip number 3, is what kind of music do you even listen to? So for me, I wouldn't consider myself super religious, but when it comes to exams, I am. Well, you can call that a bit selfish, but you know what I mean, I'm just joking. But yeah, basically when I'm biking or whatever, I tend to play like godly songs or like chants, because that's what really calms me down. So I will put that in my playlist as well if you guys want to hear it out. I listen to something called the Hanuman Chalisa, and surprisingly enough, it's as long as my bike ride, so it's perfect because A, I've got my prayer in, and B, I managed to calm down, and C, I'm really like positive and have good energy and good vibes before my exam. So that's perfect for me. But the other kind of music that I listen to is really, really fast-paced, high BPM songs because that makes me bike faster. But remember that when you guys are biking faster, please be careful because you don't want to have an accident before your exam. And if I'm walking, then I would tend to play like soothing, calming music, or maybe even nature sounds, like just basically something that I can transport myself to while I'm walking, because honestly, the weather these days, it's really not fun. So I like to be transported to like the beach and play some beach music or something like that to just basically distract me from the really, really cold winter weather here in the Netherlands. So tip number 4 is before and after the exam, make sure that you get in as late as possible, or if you're getting in early, then make sure you don't talk to anybody. And once you get out of the exam, again, make sure that you're like out of the exam hall as fast as possible. Why? Because my tip number 4 is basically do not talk to anybody before and after the exam. I briefly mentioned this in my video before as well, but I'm going to explain exactly what I mean by this. So what happens is when you go for an exam, in the exam hall, you're surrounded by hundreds of students around you, all giving the same exam or even different exams. And everybody has a bunch of books and textbooks and summaries and like giant mind maps and cue cards and whatnot. And looking at that spikes my anxiety through the roof. So what I did over the years, now I don't know if it's going to work for you or not, but you could try this. So over the years, I basically decided, okay, before the exam goes, I'm going to go in empty-handed. So I'm going to go in with just a pencil box, my phone, my wallet, my headphones, and my keys, and that's it. Nothing else. I'm going to go inside and I'm going to study everything I have to the night before, because I know that I've put in at least a month or 2 weeks or whatever amount of time before the exam. So studying last minute, exactly half an hour before the exam, is only going to confuse me and put additional stress on me. So that's something I really don't want to do. And especially with these last minute revisions, a lot of students tend to ask each other questions, and that's the worst thing that can happen. Because what happens is when someone asks you a question and you think you really like studied everything else, and then you feel like, oh, I don't know this question at all. What am I supposed to do? Well, that's just going to make you panic even more, and that's going to keep playing on your mind on and on and on during the exam. And you're going to realize that maybe the question wasn't even in the exam, and you're going to be stressed out and you won't be able to give your exam the best way possible. So yeah, don't do that. Like, especially if there are friends of yours who really, really like to discuss, I would suggest just step away from that friend circle or sit alone. It's okay, no one's judging. Everyone has their own ways of like dealing with exams. So let them do whatever they want. You do whatever you want. But just make sure that before you enter the exam, you're absolutely calm. Because I've had cases where before an exam, I was panicking so much, or people were asking me questions, or I was asking people questions, to a point where I almost had a breakdown in the middle of an exam. So that's really not fun. And I tend to get very, very, very hyper during exam times, to a point where my hands would shake like this. I couldn't hold a pen, and that's all thanks to additional stress, which is not caused by me, well, partially, but it's caused by others who were around me right before the exam because they put in ideas in my head. So I would suggest you isolate yourself, and especially during COVID times, isolation is the best policy. So tip number 5 is the last tip, and that's basically how do you exactly stay calm in an exam situation. This is going to be an extended tips. I have a bunch of small tips. So let's first start off with when you start the exam and the paper is given to you. Normally they give the exam paper like 10 to 5 minutes before the paper actually starts. So what you should do is write your name and student number on every single piece of paper that's there, because that's honestly going to take 20 minutes of your time after the exam is over. So I would suggest prep all your like papers and the question paper that you need to use, or graph paper, whatever, with your name and student number while you guys are waiting for the exam to start. Now, you've saved 20 minutes. Great. After that's done, once the exam actually starts, make sure that your watch is on the same time as the clock in the room, because no one's going to follow your own watch. You're going to have to follow their time. So reset your clock to whatever time is shown over there, so that you guys are all on the same time and there's no confusion whatsoever. The next tip I want to give you is that once the exam paper starts, I would suggest that you go through all the questions once, from cover to cover, and take a pencil and mark out the questions you find easiest on first glance. So don't spend 20 minutes reading the whole paper, but just briefly skim through everything and see if you guys have familiar concepts or familiar questions, and then mark them and prioritize them in order of what you guys know. It's as simple as that. Just do what you know first and leave the difficult ones for the last. It's very hard to do it, especially in an exam. I know it's easy to say it, but trust me, I've been through that, through trial and error and learning the hard way. I've learned that I do the easiest questions first, and honestly, the professor does not care which question order you do it in, as long as you arrange the papers together. So that's absolutely fine. After you've done that, in the exam time, when you're freaking out with one question, you do not know what the question is about, or you're completely blank and you have no idea and you are about to give up, that's when you should drink some water, take a bathroom break. That walk in the middle of an exam honestly gives you so much clarity and releases your stress to ways I can't even explain. So when you're walking past your friends or you're walking to the bathroom or whatever, for some reason it feels like all your stress is going away when you have a bathroom break. I don't know how it works, but that's just the way I feel. So definitely try that out. Maybe that clarity or a small bathroom break would maybe give you the clarity you need or the time and headspace you need to get back into a proper exam situation. So in my personal experience, what I used to do is whenever I would get stumped like this, I would go to the bathroom even if I didn't have to, and I would just go there and splash really, really cold water on my face. Now, that would drench my shirt, so whenever I would come back, people would think, what the hell did she do there? But yeah, basically, that cold, fresh water really somehow refreshes me and makes me calm down for some reason. So maybe you should try that out. But yeah, once I sit down, I've honestly had questions where I didn't know anything. I splashed the water, I came back, and I knew exactly what to do. It's weird. I don't know how it works, but it just works. So try that out and let me know in the comments below if it works. So let's say you're that kind of a student who finishes the exam super early compared to everybody else, and you just want to make a run for the door. Trust me, sit down till the end of the exam is over and keep rechecking your paper. That's the most important thing, because a lot of students who are overconfident end up making a lot of mistakes just because they wanted to finish the paper as fast as possible. It's not a competition. You're not trying to see who finishes the paper first. Basically, just sit down, relax. If you think you've got everything right, I mean, you've checked multiple times, and you really, really think that there's nothing wrong and you're going to score a perfect 10, think again. Perfect 10s do not exist. So definitely make sure where you guys are going wrong. I would then suggest take a bathroom break then. Get some fresh air, maybe go outside for a little bit if possible, come back inside and then have a look. You are bound to find a question that you felt you've answered incorrectly. Speaking of answering questions incorrectly, there are times where I have last minute frantically checked stuff and I've changed my answers last second. That's also something you should not be doing. Don't change questions and answers at the very last minute, because that's when you tend to make a lot of mistakes. I know for a fact that I've lost points on 2 full questions just by changing my answer last minute because I felt something was not right. So always go for your first answer and go for your gut feeling. Listen to that feeling. Perfect. So now you're done with your exam and you're ready to get out of the door. Make sure you have all of your items with you, especially your student card, because that's what's basically your pass to getting in and out of the exam hall. Please wear your masks, be careful, follow the rules of the exam hall and the guidelines as to where you have to exit from. And when you get to picking up your bikes, please maintain the 1.5 meter rule. But all of that aside, once you leave the exam hall, do not wait for any of your friends or anybody else, COVID or no COVID. It's basically just something that I personally had issues with, and that's because a lot of people tend to discuss the exam after the exam's over. Now, let me put it a little bit more realistically. You've just given the exam. Your hormones are all over the place, your stress is all over the place. The last thing you want to know is that you've written down wrong answers in all of your exam questions and nothing you can do about it. So the best bet for you would be to just get out of there, go home, bike home and enjoy some yummy lunchtime, or just relax, take a shower, take a nap, whatever works for you. But don't discuss the exam with your friends or your fellow peers, because that's only going to create more conflict and more tension and more stress for you, especially because exam time in Netherlands, you tend to have a lot of exams in the same week, or maybe one after the other, or even the same evening. So the best thing would be for you to be absolutely stress-free for the other exams, and once you've given this exam, just get out of there, forget it, wait for your 2 weeks until the professor gives you guys your results, and then you should discuss question and answer with students to compare your answer with, or maybe you can even schedule an appointment with your professor directly and ask him where you went wrong. But don't leave that for students to tell you that you've been wrong somewhere, or they think that your answer is wrong, because that's only going to put additional stress on you, which is unnecessary, especially during exam time. Hi guys, I hope you liked the video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel in the link down below. Now I know that these tips are something that work personally for me, and not everything's gonna work for you, but if something does, let me know in the comments down below. I really want to know what works, and if you have any other tips as well, let me know, because I would love to learn and share tips on how to manage stress, because everyone has a different journey with stress and dealing with exams. So the more we share, the better it is. But yeah, I will see you guys in my next video next Thursday, and if you guys check out my vlogs, then they're every Saturday on my blog post, so do give them a read. Until next time, bye!